represented.
Good. All the PR men did that in the National Football League, right?
Yes, sir.
That's great. Okay, injuries, everybody will practice today, so we're good there. If anybody was gonna ask about Britt's situation, it's best that I just leave that in the lawyer's hands, so I'm not gonna go talk about that. We'll talk about Arizona. We look forward to the challenge of playing them. We know they're a good football team. They started off undefeated for the first 7 games, I believe, last year. So they start fast, and they've got a heck of an offense and defense. Good coaches. Their special teams are rock solid. So we've got to make sure that we prepare. Early in the season, there's not a whole lot of scouting report on other than the year before. So a little bit what you show in the preseason game. So you've got to really stay disciplined with what you do and execute on both sides of the ball and the special teams. So that time's yours.
Coach, is there an excitement to get a season started? Looking at a young secondary, looking at some new receivers. I mean, are you excited just to get this baby going?
Yeah, well, I am. We've been coming off a week here where we just practiced, and so you look forward to getting started. And we've got a good opponent to do that against, which it's even better. So it's a great challenge, and then we're playing at their place where it's loud. So you got to, at the same time, when you're jumping out of your shoes, you've got to make sure you calm the storm where you can execute at the best of your ability. So you get high, just not too high, right? You get too high, and then you start doing things that aren't the right things.
Coach, what's some of your biggest challenges that you're going to face in this game? Obviously, Kyler Murray, stature of him as a quarterback, obviously they're not going to have DeAndre Hopkins. So what kind of challenges do you see with other players that are going to be stepping up that you might not expect?
They've got a good stable of wide receivers there. And good runners, good tight ends. They drafted one this year. It's a heck of a player. So they've got good football players, and they're solid up front. Defensively, JJ's healthy, so you add him into the mix. With 44, who's dynamite 9. I mean, you can go through Buda Baker. I feel like he's been doing this forever, and he's still flying around like a wild man. So it's there's 25. I mean, they're fully loaded on that defensive side. So we've got to make sure that on both sides of the ball that we execute. It'll be very important.
Can you talk about Kyler Murray and the problems he can pose to a defense?
Yeah, well, he's smart. And he knows how to execute that offense. So and then you add on the physical part of it, where he's tremendously quick, and at the same time, he's got that arm that is potent, so he can put it anywhere, anytime, and he's a good football player.
Andy, I mentioned you got to know Cliff a bit as you were checking out Patrick, and I wonder if you have any particular recollection about what Cliff conveyed to you about Patrick as you were exploring that.
Well, obviously they're close. And, Cliff's a tremendous guy, and I think he's a heck of a football coach. Arizona's lucky to have him in that capacity there, and he does a great job with the offensive side of football. So he loved Patrick, and he thought he'd be a great professional football player. Even though maybe the offense was different, but you're seeing his offense now be very, very successful. You're seeing Patrick also be very successful. So, but at that time it was kind of new to the NFL, and all coaches thought that this big change. He really didn't need that. So.
You maybe didn't need Cliff's input exactly on Patrick, I guess, but did it help? I mean,
no, absolutely, yeah. No, he was great. And I respect his input. So it was one of the reasons that we went after Patrick as hard as we did.
What did he tell you?
Told me he's drafted him. Told me he could answer I'll ask questions.
Andy, I suppose the answer I'm going to get is similar to the answer that you get for coming off of a bye, but you're 8-1 in openers here and 5-0 on the road. How does that happen? Is there any?
Yeah, I wish we would have one in there. That's the deal. I don't know that. Right now, I appreciate the question, but I don't care about that right now. And just if we can just go execute, do the best we can for this time of the year, I'll
If I
be happy with it.
sorry, Coach, if I could take you back to last year, can you explain just your expectations for what that offensive line was entering their first real game action together and what the expectation is now?
Yeah, so they're a full season into playing together. Back then, it was new communication. We were learning it, and that group, as you know, has to be dancing the same dance at all times. If one of them's out of whack, then there's a problem. So, but they worked through all of that stuff, and I thought did a nice job throughout the season growing together. And then now they're all back and another chance to go at it. So this will be a good challenge for us.
Is there anything you can take from that experience last year and somewhat translate it over to a new wide receiver group, minus McCole?
A little different, spread out. You still have to work together, but you're in space doing it. You're right there, man. That's a different world. None of us are born in a 3-point stance and all of that. Right? So, of course, we're not born running either, but we get there.
Coach, you guys you work obviously all off season to get ready with the new guys you have here, but this is your first time going out in a real game without having Tyreek on the team in a while. Is there some mystery to it, some apprehension, whatever? I mean, what's the feeling going in there with the group you have now into a real game where they'll play the whole 4 quarters?
Yeah, listen, we do have good bodies in there. But most of these guys have played, and the new kids, I think they're feeding off of the old guys. And on the other side of that, we're all pulling for Tyreek. They had a great year too. So, but these guys have done a nice job of working with Pat. They spend a lot of time in the offseason with him, and they have played in games. That would be the one positive.
You excited to see like a full game because you just get little bits and pieces in practice
Sure.
and all that stuff. So this
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing everybody, right? Everybody play together for a full game. You just get a taste of it during preseason. So, and there are things that go on with the wide receivers because you got a lot of moving parts in there. Guys subbing in and subbing out and doing that for 4 quarters. And, again, that's a good challenge.
Coach, following up on that, obviously you got a slew of new players, 9 rookies on the team, and new players that you signed either via free agency or what have you. Looking at where you all have been the last 4 seasons, you're going to start the season where you hope to end. What's your message to all your players who may not have been in this type of situation that you've been in the last 4 years? What's your message going into this season?
Yeah, well, we talk all the way through about just the speed of the game. So every phase that we've had in the offseason is a little bit faster than the phase before. And then that is the same thing with the preseason games as opposed to a regular season game. I mean, this is going to be fast. It's going to be loud, and you've got to be able to block things out and focus. And you got to be able to do it for 4 quarters. And so, but the experience will help them. But as far as they can prepare, they've worked on that.
Coach, as folks have kind of mentioned, this is a new experience for Pat, new personnel. As you look back at the 8 months since the AFC title game, how have you seen Patrick just ensure that this operation isn't going to slow down, not skip a beat?
Well, when we lost the receivers that we lost, he was excited, first of all, to get the new guys in. Who's going to have here? So, and then to take it and run with it once we signed him. Literally take him to where he lives and get going. And so, and again, we wish all those guys the best. I think our whole team would tell you that they played with the guys that we had here. I mean, they're tremendous. We're hoping for the best in their new places. So, but he was very excited to get him in and get him going. So, and that's what he did.
Couple more.
Andy,
Coach.
do you sense the
the season opener as more of an educational game than any of the other? But I guess, is there mystery still for you for where you guys are? Do you feel like you always have a pretty good idea of where you're at?
Well, listen, I'll tell you have an idea, but you don't know. I mean, you don't know until you get in there and go. And every week tells you kind of a new story, and you're going to continue to progress. And, where do you plateau if you plateau? And you take some dips there, how you handle those. So that's what seasons present you, and you've got to work through all that. And if you haven't gone through it with some guys, or the chemistry of all the guys together working, how's that going to take? Well, we'll see. That's what's so unique about it. Every year is a little bit different on how they go about it, and you're excited for that part to see how it all unfolds.
You got three more, we'll start back coming to the front.
Go ahead.
How do you manage with so many young guys and kind of a lack of experience? There could be some mistakes that are made, but they're also going to be out there making plays. Just how do you manage this?
Yeah, so we're here to teach as coaches, and we know even with veteran players, there are mistakes. So the thing is that you learn from it as a player, and as a coach, you teach and help them not make that same mistake again. And you want them to play full speed. You want them to go. If you're gonna make a mistake, do it 100 miles an hour. So, and then let's learn from it and get back in and go 100 miles an hour the next one.
Last two. Coach, Tim Reinhardt said something last night on radio that was really interesting. He was talking about some of the guys like Creed Humphrey and Trey who had such great rookie years. He said he thought the sophomore year, the second year, was harder for him and for a lot of people. He said the first year you're on adrenaline. The second year, he said, I don't think I played as well. Do you see that? Is that true?
Yeah, so what happens is you give these coaches, these great minds on the defensive side, time to study it and find out what your weakness is. And then they're going to come out, they're going to attack that. You only have a few games to get that, to get where you want to go. So it's different than baseball or basketball. So these guys get together and they come out and present. And then, rise, you're going to sink. You gotta be strong mentally and prepare yourself for it.
Last one.
Coach Spags and EB both said in preseason how much you've evolved as a coach. Going into this season, how much with that evolution of yourself does that identity within yourself take on, as your team?
Yeah, I'm old, is what you're saying, right? Or I put weight on. I mean, it's one of the two.
Thought you took it off.
It's I don't know. I don't know. You can ask them, but I love what I'm doing. Those guys, I rely on them a lot, and the other coaches, they do a great job. I mean, he's been with me since he was a player, now as a coach. And I want to kick him out of here, get him where he needs to be, as a head coach. But at the same time, there's a familiarity there. So, and that really with that staff. So, and then defensively, I've known Spags since we coached in college, and it's I try. There's a trust there, and always Spags and his staff.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Prayers to you, Coach.
All right, guys, go ahead and fire away.
Hi, Patrick.
How you doing?
Great. Season just about to get started for real. How excited are you with this group that you've gone to battle with in training camp to see what they can do?
Yeah, I'm super excited. The biggest thing I think is just getting those guys out there. We put in the practice now. We put in the work. One more week of kind of game planning, getting ready for the Cardinals, a great football team. But I'm excited to see these guys in game action. And preseason's one thing, but when it gets to the regular season, it gets real. So I'm excited to get these guys out there and see what we got.
Pat, I got to ask you, with all the slander and disrespect that seems to be going around lately, where it seems like that now you all aren't the hunter, but you can be the hunter now. People are going with Joe Burrows and Justin Herbert and Josh Allen's the MVP and winning the conference and everything and winning the Super Bowl. What type of motivation does that do for you as well as the team?
I think you should be motivated every year. In this league, everybody starts at zero. Everybody's 0-0. Everybody has a chance to go out there and win the Super Bowl. If you don't have that motivation every single year to get to win the AFC West, to win the AFC, and then to win the Super Bowl, then you're in the wrong profession. And I think we have the guys in here that are excited about it, excited about the chance to go out there and win every single week. But it all starts off this week one against a great football team in the Arizona Cardinals. So we're excited to get out there and kind of show what we've been putting together and show who we are.
How you all
facing Cliff Kingsbury, an old friend of yours, obviously. He said it's surreal to face you. What do you think it's like? What do you think it's going to be like to face him?
Yeah, same. I mean, it's someone who's taught me a ton, not only about football, but about life. He got me kind of out of high school where I was a baseball player trying to play football and basically trying to be on my own. You're leaving the household and kind of being on your own. And he helped me become who I am today. And it'll be cool to get to play against him. Hopefully I get the win because you'll have those little bragging rights, because I see him every once in a while in the off season and out in Lubbock and stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be an awesome moment that we'll have forever. Just hopefully I get the win, so I get those bragging rights for the rest of the time.
I was about to say, how often do you keep in touch with him?
I stay in touch with him a good amount. I mean, we talk about Texas Tech football. One of our guys, Zach Kitley's offense coordinator, who was with us there at Texas Tech. And so we kind of keep in touch through all kind of a group message with all those guys. And so it'll be cool to get to go up against him. We'll be a lot of communication this week. I know that. So we're going to go out there, and I know he's going to have his team ready to go. He has the track record where they start off fast and they do a lot of great things. So we're going to have our best effort if we want to go out there and win a football game.
Now,
When Tech first started recruiting you, was that your junior year? Were they sort of the first on board?
They're really the first and only because I didn't get recruited by much. I mean, I got a couple other offers from some smaller schools and stuff like that in the Texas area, but they were the one school. I credit to Kingsbury. He was the one that came down, saw me, talked to me, talked to my family, and did everything like that and believed in me. And I think that's a reason I'm in this position is he gave me that chance.
And no names, but didn't the University of Texas see you as a defensive back at that point?
Yeah, I was playing defensive back at that time in their defense, and I said it, man. I was like 6'2", 180, and had like 6 picks. So I mean, maybe I could have played defensive back. You never know.
When your last season at Tech ended, you were trying to decide to either come back or go to the draft. What advice did Cliff have for you, one way or the other?
I think the biggest piece of advice he gave me was you said be all in either way. If that was coming back to Texas Tech and trying to do whatever I can to win the Big 12 championship, to make my draft grade go higher, and I'll do all that different type of stuff. He said do that, but if I do make that step and go to the NFL, just to give everything I have. And I mean, that's kind of what I got from a lot of people around me. And I think it all worked out because I was projected second, third round pick, and I went in there, did everything I could in not training camp, but the combine training. And then got to the Chiefs and kind of kept that same mentality, and it's helped me kind of become the player that I am.
You talked a minute ago about how he helped you get where you are. Is there things you can quantify, things you can point to say, hey, here's how he helped me?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you see with a lot of young quarterbacks is whenever they get to a coach, they kind of try to restrict them and kind of make them be this model of how the quarterback position is supposed to be played. And I think he was early in the game of just saying, hey, let's maximize your strengths. And he would teach me here and there how to kind of be more mechanical and get in the pocket and the fundamentals of the game. But he never restricted who I was. And I think that's kind of, obviously amplified with Coach Reid now. But it was something where I could have went somewhere and they could have tried to make me this pocket quarterback who kind of had the right fundamentals. But he let me be who I was kind of on and off the field, and it helped me become the player that I am.
So does he know how to stop you then?
I hope not. I haven't played against him yet. But I'm sure he has a few more tricks that he might know from my college days. But I feel like I've grown a lot in those since I've been in the NFL. So hopefully we can combat that. But I'm sure he has a good idea of who I am. But it's a hard offense to stop altogether, and I think that's what makes his offense so great.
Patrick, what is the team's model this year? Obviously, when you lost in 18 to New England, you knew the next year, hey, we got to complete the mission. The year after that was trying to run it back. Last year, of course, we know about the second half. You're going to start the season in Arizona where you hope to end it in February. What's the message? What's the motivating factor that you tell all the new players and the new additions to the team to try to complete what you couldn't do last year?
Yeah, I think it's just keeping the edge of just going out there every single day and getting better. We have a lot of new guys, but we have some guys that we've had for a long time, and you don't want to get complacent with where you're at. You want to make sure you're getting better and better, and we have to set that example and keep that edge so that the guys that have came in here, they understand that and they know how to get better. And so we can start off this week one, hopefully get a win, but keep building as the season goes on.
You guys had a solid preseason, but obviously the regular season is a different game. With all the turnover of new offensive personnel, just without saying too much, obviously, but how different is this thing going to look to you? How surprised do you think people will be when they see this first glimpse of your offense?
Yeah, I think biggest thing is just going to be, I think there's going to be a different player every single game that has the big game. It's not going to be just necessarily Tyreek and Travis every single week where it's like one or the other is having a big game or both. It's going to be every single week. It's going to be someone different. So I'm sorry to all you fantasy football guys, but it's going to come from everywhere. So you're going to have to kind of choose the right guy every week.
Before touchdowns.
There's with just getting used to all these new guys, you obviously learn stuff throughout training camp, the preseason games. What do you feel like you really need a regular season game in order to learn?
I think it's just you see those guys who really want to compete. I think that's the biggest thing. You see what the guy really has underneath because when you're in the preseason or when you're in training camp, I mean, you're grinding and you're doing all that different stuff and you're going through adversity, but at the same time, you kind of know that it's not real. When it becomes real, you see what a guy truly has underneath, and I think we have the guys that have it and they can go out there and find ways to win at the end of the day.
What qualities do you see that makes you say that gives you confidence they are?
Yeah, you see from the moments whenever Coach Reid puts us in these game situations and you see guys step up, whenever the play is not perfect, whenever you got to kind of make plays happen. You've seen guys make those tough catches. You've seen guys make those contested catches. I think, and then you learn about their personalities of where they've come from, and you understand that these guys they have that grit, they have that toughness to go out there and win football games however it takes.
Let's go, Neil. Go ahead, Neil.
Do you know Kyler Murray? You guys run into each other down in Dallas much?
We don't run into each other much, but I definitely know him. I've met him a couple times. I mean, I've seen him since he was a sophomore or freshman in high school, just dominating the Dallas DFW area, really all of Texas and the country. And so he's a winner. He's someone who's won everywhere he's been. He's extremely talented, and it'll be a tough test for any defense, but for us, and we're going to go out there and compete if we want to win the football game.
Patrick, for the season opener in 2018, I remember you explaining how nervous you were, but how excited because really no one in the NFL had sort of seen you yet with the full offense. I'm just wondering, is there a similar feeling this year because of the new skill set at receiver? Do you think that gives you all an advantage to some degree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely excited just to get out there. Like I said, I think it's just going to be a diverse offense where everybody's going to get the ball. So it'll be hard for defenses to game plan against. But I'm interested to see how defenses are going to go against us. Are they going to do the shell stuff that we saw most of the year? Are they going to do what the Bengals did against us in the AFC Championship game? Or are they going to go back to going with defenses they feel the most confident with? So I'm excited for that, but we have answers for it all, and we're excited just to get out there and play.
We'll go 3 more. Let's go Dave, Steve, and then Vahe. Go ahead, Dave.
The three wide receivers you brought in, I mean, one of them is coming from catching passes from Tom, one from Big Ben, one from Aaron Rodgers. Those are three pretty good quarterbacks too. Is it noticeable when a guy is coming in from that kind of background as opposed to maybe a different wide receiver? Like, is there anything that you notice that maybe they've picked up along the way that's kind of?
I think the biggest thing from coming from quarterbacks like that, especially ones that have played for a long time and been great for a long time, is they understand how to do stuff the way the quarterback wants it done. I mean, not necessarily how it's drawn up on paper. All three of those guys, whenever you tell them something, they make sure to make that adjustment in their routes because they know that's kind of what they've dealt with their entire career. Sometimes when you get guys from other places, they just run the route how it's supposed to be ran. But these guys have a great understanding of not only running the route, but understanding the coverage as they're running it and how it affects everybody.
Patrick, you talked a minute ago about you're eager to see how teams are going to defense you guys this year. Obviously, you're prepared for everything for Sunday's game, but what are you expecting to see from the Cardinals in that regard?
I mean, the Cardinals are going to do a little bit of everything. I mean, you watch the film on them and seen them all last year with Vance Joseph, someone I've played a couple times when he was at Denver. He's going to throw you every single pitch. He has a great job of mixing up his coverages, mixing up his blitz pressures. And we're not going to be correct 100% of the time. I mean, he's gonna have different coverages that get me during the game. It's about limiting the mistakes in that game, and then whenever you do get your opportunities, executing on it. Steve?
Patrick, I haven't been able to ask you this since it was released. I know a lot of kids are excited. My son Peyton is excited. Rate your Fortnite skin?
Dude, I think it's sweet, both of them.
Yeah.
The Gladiator one, always. I mean, that thing was sweet. We just had like the bazooka arm, whatever you want to call it, and then the pickaxes and everything like that. I helped design that one, so it was big. And then they wanted to throw a fun one out there, so the ketchup bottle, obviously, I think was fun. And I think I still look pretty clean with the suit on.
Yeah. So you play Fortnite a lot?
I haven't played with my skin just yet, just because I'm in the middle of the season. But I'm hoping to get out there and play with it a little bit and catch some dubs.
That's one line.
Patrick, is it correct that you sent Cliff a little eyes emoji after you saw the schedule?
Yeah, I did, because Coach Reid Coach Reid's, he's got the people inside the buildings everywhere. So he knew the schedule before it even came out. So I just sent him the emoji, and I think he knew right then that it was going to be the week one against each other. But that's just the type of relationship we have, man. I mean, he's a great guy. And like I said, it's a great football team. So it's going to be a great test for us early.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.